Over Politics, the podcast, and we're talking about the issues that are important to people in the communities as we head up to the election, and talk to the people who are running for election who will help us manage these things that are in our lives every day, and a lot of things. I got a lot of questions. So Ren Nushai is here again, as always. Ren, thanks for hanging out.
Thank you.
So Ren, I want the data on what the flock with the drones.
Yes, I tell you all, it's so interesting, Jamie. It is one of the main questions that one fields right now as we go around the community, door knocking, talking to people, in all the every avenue possible.
Sure,
is the number one question. It feels like, and it's and it's understandable as to why, but it is nonetheless not easy to get adjusted to the fact that that's one of the top issues.
The AI, the technology, and the all those things in our lives that seem to be really invading. It's getting close to Skynet.
It really, I tell you, it feels like every conspiracy theory out there is coming to be true, turning out to be true. So it is quite honestly stupefying and worrisome, and of course the opportunities are endless with respect to this. So we have so much to consider as a society, and it feels like all this is coming about without us having actually a conversation about the benefit versus the detriments.
Sure.
And without that conversation happening, conversations are the preamble to legislation. Right. So unless we're having this, good, honest conversation with one another about what we want as a society, what we want as a community, there is no way to have reasonable legislation with respect to this. And that's why you're seeing our legislators sort of, out there just, with their hands up, and they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
I mean, this is unbelievable.
So it's teaching journalism in high school and teaching high school. And I let kids know that the whole concept of civil rights and your First Amendment rights. And I tell kids, you can say anything, you can do anything you want to. You can do anything you want to do in this world. Absolutely. You can do up unto the point you are impeding on someone else's civil rights.
Absolutely.
Right. So kids love to swear, right? They love to swear. It's like, it's almost a hostile work environment. There's so much swearing in the hallways. I'm like, would you stop swearing? Because I'm going to swear if you're swearing. It just, so but if that makes me uncomfortable, then you've impeded on my civil rights. Absolutely. and my pursuit of happiness. And so you don't have free reign to just speak like that, however, whatever.
Absolutely.
So the drones, right? So Colleen and I, my wife, we're out on our walk. We take our little loop around, a little 3-mile loop around our neighborhood. And just this past week, for the first time, there was this drone, right? She had told me about drones earlier, but teaching during the school year, I didn't see them. But we were out on a weekday afternoon walk, and then I was like, somebody cutting their grass, and it was like, no, she said they're huge.
Yes.
And they're actually kind of sizable.
Yes, they are.
And a little bit loud.
A lot loud.
So, and so the convenience is great.
Sure.
I don't know if it's a gas saving, time saving, road saving. Sure. Are there savings in there?
I imagine. Absolutely.
I'm sure they wouldn't do it if the numbers didn't crunch.
Correct.
But it's loud. And so are we giving up, noise pollution for convenience, right?
Absolutely.
And that's not my delivery.
No.
And she is a staunch get off my lawn kind of gal. and she doesn't want, drones and things.
But we all are.
Yeah.
We all are.
Yeah.
I don't, she's not alone.
Yeah.
I don't know that, we came to this country, we created this great country with any other idea really, other than get off my lawn at the end of the day.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, that's the kernel of everything.
Tall fences make good neighbors.
But yes, very much so. So I think it's incredible to experience around Oakland, Macomb County, and everywhere, I suppose. But this is our community. This is where we live, and it's been stupefying to see that our legislators at all levels of government. I think about our Troy City Council. I think about our Oakland County Board of Commissioners. They're asleep at the wheel. I don't know if you're aware, I'm sure you heard, the Oakland County Commission just set up itself to purchase 7 new drones to the tune of, I don't know, $3 point some million. and it was an incredible cost and the argument being we're purchasing these drones in order for us to be able to collect to collect data whenever the police are chasing someone and for those kind of activities.
Sure.
But they're AI drones, right?
Right.
So they collect information no matter what, and they're going over your backyard and my backyard, and as we are in the privacy of our own homes. And it's not like they stop collecting data when they're over our stuff, right? It's just a continuous gathering of information. And the question is, where do we stand with respect to this? What makes sense for our communities? And I'm not sure that we have this, we have a solution yet, right? We haven't even had a conversation yet. And Oakland County Board of Commissioners just did it as a matter of course. And the community showed up. We had on one of those meetings where they were going to vote on it, there was about, I don't know, a couple hundred people that showed up. Right? They felt strongly. And imagine this is a meeting in the middle of the week where people are busy, they got families, they got everything, and they show up to talk about it. And the issue is completely ignored. Their concerns are ignored. We can't have stuff like that. We have to be able to talk about this, right? Because I'm like your wife. I don't want anything over over my backyard.
Yeah.
Particularly on the weekend, particularly anytime. But here you are on the weekend enjoying your stuff, enjoying your time, and then this happens. And and we are giving up so much for convenience. And the question is, is it worth it? And what is the benefit? What is that, the calculation? Sure. And I'm not sure that this bears it out, to be perfectly honest with you. And I'm all about convenience at the end of the day. But I still don't think.
You go to Google Map.
Sure.
Right. And then you can zoom in on your house. And it's like, all right, that's available to me by just going click, click, click.
All day.
What and that's where the conspiracy, what do they got?
Right. Absolutely.
Real-time, high res.
No, but it feels like we're sleepwalking into a surveillance state. And I'm not sure that any of us signed up for it. Right. We of course want the benefits of technology. Who wouldn't, right? Obviously it's been immensely beneficial to us. And with that comes some degree of natural tendency to give up certain aspects of privacy. Sure. But when the delivery is from my house and your house suffers, it is precisely the argument you made at the beginning of this, which is, why am I giving up liberty for your convenience?
Right.
And ultimately, and you sounded to me as you're making that statement, I wondered, I'm like, did Jamie go to law school? Because that's exactly what that's precisely what they taught us in law school, right? That's where you begin when it comes to First Amendment rights and things of that nature. And I think that's the very essence of our constitutional premise in this great country. That is precisely the idea of freedom that we embody as a nation. Why would we give that up for convenience, right? Yeah.
So the two things I always pitch to my kids is you can do anything up until you impede someone else's civil rights.
That's right.
And you can sue anybody, anytime, place, anywhere for anything.
Sure.
Now,
you have to win, but
you may or may not win. Right. Well, you can sue anybody anytime for anything.
Certainly can.
But so there's two aspects to the drones, and the first is the delivery service, and the noisiness of that, and then the other aspect is the surveillance, because I'm all for keeping our law enforcement officers safer. Those guys have a hard job.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Second only to teach in high school.
Yes, that's, I'm inclined to agree.
No, way harder.
I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, all of a sudden I was thinking, boy, if I could be
25 pounds of gear.
Teaching class, let me keep them in line, right? But
talking about the Mexican standoff.
But so it's these drones. Is someone piloting them? Are they just randomly out there just keeping an eye on things?
No, I mean, and this is part of the problem, right? I mean, part of the issue is that because we're not having the conversations that we need to have, we're also not in receipt of the information that we need to receive. And further, when we look at I'm an attorney, and as an attorney, I look at it, I look at it holistically and from the documents and contracts aspect as well. And when I look at the contracts, these are not contracts that are for our benefit as consumers, right? They're for the benefit of some major corporation located somewhere in California with its hub somewhere in Ireland.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
here we
Yeah.
are trying to make sense of their terms and conditions because those are referenced in our contractual agreement.
Yeah.
They don't say these are our terms. They say, look at these terms over here. We store them again in California, and they're constantly changing. And then we as a community are supposed to make sense of this. How? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? We constantly stare at it. Again, it's not for our benefits. And anytime we talk about, there's so many, the changes that we've been experiencing as a community, these are the things that we see where all of a sudden our ability to control outcomes is taken away from us, is monetized for the benefit of someone else, and then is given back to you. It's like, but you must have it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that we must.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I think we should, at the very least, be able to talk about it.
Yeah. If I had a choice for a drone delivery, I would probably say no. You know, I even like when it's like there's some hubs, there's like some grocery stores and places where they have like pickup hubs, and I like doing those because my house is really hard to find, and so it's amazing.
And you'll like it that way.
I do actually a little bit, and so I don't mind going out. Gets me out of the house. Give me something to do.
But ultimately, even for those of us who disagree with you and I, but want to be able to have such a delivery, there is a better way. And when talking about the other aspect that you mentioned, the police aspect, right?
Yeah.
And helping out our police. As you know, I prosecute for a living, right? And as a prosecutor, I do see the benefits of this and other technologies like this. For example, we have one of the other conversations and questions that we field quite a bit on the door knocking that we do now is the conversation about flock cameras, which are similar in nature, right?
Right.
To drones. And flock cameras are the cameras that basically take a picture of either license plate readers.
Yeah.
Right. They presumably take a snap image of your license plate, from camera to camera of all our plates. And presumably they store that information for, the ability of police officers to go out there and help them with whatever crime, trace people from camera to camera.
Sure.
And theoretically, imminently helpful, right? I can tell you for purposes of my work, I see the work of these cameras on police reports again and again and again, and they're helpful. It goes without saying. On the other hand, right, the collection of information, it is absolutely, we have an inability to control it. Right. We don't know where it's stored. They say we only take license plate reader information. Well, it's a camera. It's a snap image. Of course you don't. Of course you take more than that. Yeah. And again, you look at the contractual agreements. Their contractual agreements are not to our benefit. They're to the benefit of whatever company that drafted them, with terms and agreements, again, located in California.
So who owns these? And that's the thing. So I want to get back to the drones, but we'll come back to the flock cameras. So the drones with like the delivery, right?
Sure.
So every community has a noise ordinance.
Absolutely.
I would wager, I don't know for sure, but I would wager 99% of the communities in the Metro Detroit area has some sort of noise ordinance on the book. You can't cut your grass before 9 a.m. or something, right? And these drones are noisy, but they're not that noisy. They're not that much more noisy than your neighbor cutting their grass or weed whacking or whatever. But if they're weed whacking and cutting their grass every single day,
it becomes an issue on itself.
Yeah. So is there, as these become more prolific, is there, you can only go to this neighborhood so many times in a day? Is that something that can be legislated at a community or state level?
Absolutely. Both. You're absolutely right.
And or is it something that should be?
It should, of course.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, this is one of my personal thought, but it's a thought that is not, it's not that I was born with it. It's something that has come as a result of my training and expertise as an attorney. Legislation needs to precede some of these events as opposed to the other way around, right? We've got this new technology and it just mushrooming and exploding all over the place. Its uses are infinite, it seems, and it's affecting every aspect of life. And then we're just looking from the back and we're being told, not your time to think or talk or do anything about this. That cannot possibly be the answer. Our obligation, our need as a community is to have reasonable legislation that guides the conduct of the various uses of this technology.
Yeah.
So in thinking about noise, I'll give you my specific example. I am a prosecuting attorney for a small town in Oakland County. And in this town, you're exactly right. We do have a noise ordinance. We used to have a noise ordinance that was very broad, that covered a lot of different uses, like by way of its breadth. Over time, we've made it, specific with respect to certain aspects so that we could protect our neighbors. Things like we've placed, for example, decibel requirements where you cannot exceed certain threshold as opposed to what we used to have in the past. And realistically, where we're going to find ourselves, unless we legislate wisely now, and we take the opportunity to do so now, where we're going to find ourselves is at a situation where ultimately we are going to be chasing after drones because we haven't necessarily legislated a priori ahead of time.
Yeah.
And our community needs the solutions now, needs to set up a baseline now for every company to follow, as opposed to the other way around, where we chase them to be able to say, no, I know you've done this now for a year and a half, but from now on, I'm going to be looking at you and measuring your decibels to be able to tell you whether you're exceeding the levels or you're not exceeding the levels. And I know you've been doing your deliveries from 5 a.m. to like the next 5 a.m., 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah. But now we're going to limit you to 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Yeah. We can't be chasing them. We have to set up the standard now. And this is the difficulty and the shortcoming that a lot of our legislators are showcasing is precisely this notion, this inability to even foresee the issue that is coming. Like it's a train, right? It's left the station already, and we just need to be able to get ahead of it. Yeah. And and unless we do, we're not going to be successful as a community. And this is already a difficult issue, and it's not a simple issue, obviously. Yeah. But to sort of stick our head in the sand and say, well, we'll see what happens. That's no solution.
Yeah,
that's no solution at all. In the meantime, these drones keep going over our heads.
And then are they safe? Somebody's going to drop a house on you too. It's so because they're not. It's they're the size of a lawnmower.
Yeah,
it's like right. They're kind of big. So if this thing comes down. I mean, right now they're new and shiny and working well.
Sure.
I managed a Domino's Pizza for a bunch of years, and we provided some cars, and people had their own cars, and they were new and shiny at the beginning, but later
on,
So what happens if a drone falls and gets into traffic or hits your car parked in your driveway? Sure. Falls on your dog, falls on you. What happens then? Who's responsible? Is it the person who placed the order? Is it the company? Is the manufacturer of the product that you ordered? Is it the person piloting the drone? Is it the person who designed the drone? Is it and I can tell you what it is. It's at all. And then you're all coming to the party, and we're going to get the money out of the people's pockets.
Just between our last two meetings, you've attended law school. I mean, I feel this is like a bar exam, because that's exactly the answer. The answer is everybody gets involved. And this is like an interesting tidbit, but 80% of the cases that comprise the Oakland County Superior Court have to do with some insurance claim of some sort, right? And I think that's this is going to be one more avenue for insurance claims at the end of the day. But when it does fall, everybody becomes involved, right?
Oh, that's one of my gigs in college was I clerked for an attorney.
Sure.
And so I was picking up his dry cleaning and then dropping off papers at the Supreme Court of Michigan. So I was doing, and everything in between, lots of highlighting, depositions for mediations, but
yes, sir.
It's such a litigious society.
Very much so.
And we did defense, actually. We represented like Toys R Us. And Toys R Us is like, if somebody's hurt, we'll pay them.
Sure. And yet there's still litigation.
if somebody, but they're like, I want $10 million. Toys R Us, they're not giving you $10 million. We'll give you, whatever reasonable. So that was our job, was to help them get to a reasonable number. But such a litigious and all so many of those things that we were doing. It was like at all. It was like everybody and anybody.
You have to bring everybody in,
and then figure out who's responsible.
Yeah, and remember, we've gone out there and under the guise of tort reform, we've done tort reform. I don't know how many times in my lifetime alone, probably 2 or 3 already. Yeah. And I'm not sure that we're feeling any better about what we have right now than we did before the last one. Right. Yeah. So we're adding by not being deliberate about the way we legislate and the way we organize our life to protect our way of life. What we do is our reality then lends itself to us being reactive as opposed to proactive, and all we end up doing is litigating nonstop. Yeah. Now I'm an attorney, so on the one hand I see the benefit of it, but on the other hand, societally, you're exactly right. We're such a litigious society, and there's no benefit to this. Yeah. If there was a benefit arising out of it, I'd get it, but nobody ever
benefited me. Helped me pay my way through college. That was a good gig.
Perhaps we could have gotten you another job, a better job.
It was a good gig. I considered the law, and I was like, no. It's like an unending research paper.
That very much so.
It's an unending research paper,
nonstop.
It's just it's all because it's a case law anyway. But so I'm curious. I'm just morbid. I hope nothing ever goes wrong, and I hope no one ever gets hurt. But machines are machines, and errors happen, and something. I'm curious if the person who placed the order would be named.
Well, there would be a necessary party.
Because it wouldn't be in my neighborhood if you didn't place that order.
That's right. There would be a necessary party.
Yeah.
There would be a necessary litigation.
They may not be. I'm really interested to see that and how that pans out.
They may not be, ultimately found responsible to any, healthy degree as far as judgments are concerned, but nonetheless, they're a necessary party for purposes of litigation. So when attorney A, filed a lawsuit, I have to name all of them. Right?
Oh yeah.
I have to be comprehensive as opposed to under-inclusive.
That's very interesting. I'm very curious to see if when that starts to happen. I'm sure they're out.
It's inevitable. It's inevitable.
I'm sure they're out.
It's inevitable.
That's right. All right. So the flock camps.
Yes.
So the flock camps. I was trying to get my kids to write about it because they put one up right on the corner by the school. I goes, anybody see that? And they're like, no, what are you talking about? I'm like, you guys are so oblivious. I go, they are watching you and you got no idea. No. So I had taken a picture of it. I took a picture of it. So the next week I was like, okay, this is what I'm talking about. This is flock camera right at the corner, where you guys all turn in. They're looking at you. Sure. So who put it there?
Flock, all these municipalities do. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Who put it there? Who built it? Is someone watching it, or is it just a computer program watching it and it triggers and sends an alert if there's something that should be alerted? Where's that data kept? How long is it kept? Sure. Who has access to it?
I'm telling you, you've gone to law school. I'm telling you, I know it. Now your job explains it all.
No,
you were paying attention when you were working for that man. That man was lucky. Let me tell you. Yeah, these are all they're exceptional questions.
It's just good reporting.
Yeah,
I want the answers to these questions. I wanted my kids to go do it, and they never did. But.
Yep. Here are some of those answers, and they come from the fact that just about every community around us has placed flock cameras on them. So it's, we're absolutely inundated and surrounded by them. There's nowhere you go, with the exception of one municipality here and one in Washington County, and I'll tell you those two, where you don't get flock cameras.
That's where you can go and be bad.
Oh, that's right. You can go be bad.
Go be bad.
Yeah. But realistically, they're everywhere. So, as you know, you and I both live in Troy. Troy has flock cameras, and they have them basically at all points of entry and exit of the city. For the most part, that's how they set them up. And so do so many municipalities. The data is kept by flock. The terms and agreement that they have, and flock is just one camera. There's a lot of these license plate readers. Flock is the main
It's just like it's Kleenex. That's right. Just become the brand name.
It's become the brand name.
Brand name has become the name of the product.
That's right. That's precisely right. So they're out there, they're the main competitor, and they're collecting all the municipalities. Their terms and agreements say that, you can negotiate for how long they keep them. For the most part, what makes sense is about 30 days. But, realistically, no data ever gets lost, as you and I both know. Yeah. And this has been one of the points of consternation and concern for all the members of our community. They're saying, you're capturing this information. You're putting on information out there that says, we do nothing except for license plate readers. But then, information shows up that says, that we find that the data is abused, right? Is sold, is given to other entities. It's misused by those who monitor, to answer the question about monitoring. So, for example, we have police officers that monitor it. They're on a per case basis, but we've seen abuses throughout the country. Thankfully, knock on wood, not here, not in this great state, but we've seen it throughout the country. People, there's stories of, again, and these are rogue police officers, stalking cases and things like that. Let me look at what my ex-wife is doing, stuff like that, which is, unnerving to say the least, because it shows the potential misuses that you could have of this technology. And it's happening. And if it's happening, and we're not catching them all, obviously, right? We're catching, the flagrant examples, and that rests uneasy with any member of this community, I imagine. And some communities I thought when they first came about, I must say we were all asleep at the wheel, yours truly included, because we're sitting there and like nobody knows. This was several years ago when they first came about. The benefits on argument, arguably outweigh the detriments. Certainly several years ago when we had no detriments to show, right? Because we had no use. But now at this particular point where we see several years later the benefits that obviously the police officers do see, and I can attest to, versus some of the detriments, the risk is frankly too great. My own community.
The flock camera, you think the flock cameras are too risky?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I do. I think they are, these license plate readers, the benefits do not outweigh the risk.
Okay.
Our data is fundamentally critical to our well-being at the end of the day. And we are, like I said earlier, I think in many ways, and perhaps it's inevitable, but I don't believe so, but perhaps it is inevitable, but it feels as if we're sleepwalking into the surveillance state.
Yes.
And this is one of the ways that we're doing so. And I think it's incumbent upon all of us, each of us, to be able to lend our voice, not to allow this to happen. There is a better way. We don't have policing. We don't have to do this. Policing has been happening to our benefit for, I don't know, millennia, but certainly 250 years in this country. Right? And they've solved crime without these, the bells and whistles of new technologies. And I remember, I can tell you, the briefest little snippet of this, a prosecutor many, years ago when I first started in Macomb County, actually, a prosecuting attorney that I was asking for the video evidence on whatever drunk driving case I was, handling at the time on behalf of a client. Prosecutor said, well, apparently there's a glitch in the camera of the police vehicle, so we don't have any video. And I said, well, are you dismissing the case? And he absolutely lost his marbles. He melted. He went nuts. He's like, are you kidding me? Why would I dismiss this case? He's like, you think we didn't prosecute cases before there was cameras? And of course he was correct.
Yeah.
Right. Of course it was correct.
Oh, yeah.
And there was drunk drivings before cameras, and they're going to be long before, long after cameras are gone, right? And we have nothing but AI technology that deals with this stuff. So same holds true for this. I think we've been handling crime, and police have been doing a great job all along. And of course, there are so many technologies that are available to them, and they're going to be available to them down the road. Things that we don't even perhaps perceive right now. But one thing that's not going to change, or at least we don't presume will change or should change, is the Constitution of the United States.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
That needs to be paramount. And some ideas like, freedom and democracy and, First Amendment rights, right to free speech, right to assembly, peacefully assemble, and so on and so forth. Those concepts are more important than flock cameras.
Is it 2 or 5 search and seizure?
4.
4. Oh, all right.
Yeah.
See, I didn't go to last. So does that constitute? Do these flock cameras border on
absolutely.
Unsolicited searches?
Is it as on? So I imagine that the calculation and the analysis is a little complex because they're out there, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the interesting things is you've really zeroed in a very interesting issue, and here it is, as simply put as possible. At the end of the day, it is available to me as a prosecuting attorney, the data from the flock camera, because the moment the issue arises, right, the police officer goes out there and handles it with the benefit of the flock camera. However, it is not necessarily because they're just seeing where a vehicle is going from one point to another, right, and is showing a movement from point A to point B to point C without any context per se, right? And It's available to him, therefore it's available to me.
Yeah.
It's not available on a case where there may not be an issue, on a case to the defendant for disculpatory purposes.
Mm-hmm.
That being the case, think about the juxtaposition that, when we put those two concepts next to one another, where prosecution and police are seeing the benefit from these elements, whereas defendants, those charged whether with or without reason, don't have the same benefit. Not all of a sudden the justice system is no longer just.
So I know how to, but here's the thing, right? I know how to pave the roads and fund that new library that you want. All we got to do is mail out tickets to everybody driving around with an unregistered license plate or an expired plate. We'll just mail you the ticket.
Yeah.
You were on the road. Here you are. You were here and here and here. You were on the road with that expired plate. Here's a ticket, Skippy.
And I'll give you that answer, but I'll give you the answer which is you.
And then we got a new library.
That's right. Yeah. The question,
it's for the kids.
the question is.
I
know you are, and your question answers it as well at the same time. I'll give you, and I had this case less than a few months ago, where the camera, a flock camera, was used to show an accident that the police believed had occurred as a result of my client's action, right? And they said, look, here's your, there was a hit and run because they believed that, my client had hit somebody else's car, and said, here's, what we see. We see the day before there was no ding on your client's car. The day after, here's a ding, right? And oh boy, your client is guilty, right? It made the jump. Whereas, you're gonna love this. Next door neighbor to my client has Ring cameras, which showed my client hit her own mailbox in the same day. Right? but for that, like, talk about the war of technology.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
But for that, we're talking about a hit or run is a 93-day misdemeanor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot at stake.
Yeah.
Right. And so we see these technologies as giving us the ability to help, and they do quite a bit. Right. Think about your average case of lost grandpa with dementia, right? That may be beneficial, even though it's a license plate reader. I'm sure we could use it to find somebody, going down the street. And, so you can have that benefit. But on the other hand, what is the cost of charging someone who hasn't committed a crime, hasn't done anything wrong, charging them with a crime, putting them through the justice system, which is not for the faint of heart, as you know.
Sure.
And getting, and for what reason, right? Where we could do good old policing the way we used to do, and the way we've always done it, and accomplish what we need to accomplish. And I'm not sure that any new library would ever justify the cost of the trampling of our constitutional rights, right? There's, and yours truly loves libraries, right? I fought for our Troy library to be where it is today, and I'll continue to do so. But at the end of the day, our constitutional rights, right? The rights that we, go and read about in that very library, they tell us that we need to do better with what we have. So,
because I know Hamtramck and Royal Oak have both doubled backed on their parking meters, right? Sure. And the smart parking meters that would just Royal Oak emailed me a parking ticket. It's like, you were there for 1 hour and 2 minutes. Here's your ticket. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Right.
And then it comes in the mail, and I was like, my car was registered under Colleen's name at the time, and she's like, what's this? I was like, thank you, Royal Oak.
Exactly.
Ruined my Wednesday night. That was a way to go. But it was like, I was over time.
Sure.
But
there's a better way.
But they've gone back, and because I think they got a lot of the back. So actually, Royal Oak and is doing something different, and Hamtramck got rid of them. And I think they're going to do something different. But that's interesting. But the flock cameras are out there. Sure. How do we just take them down? Because the herd of cats is out of the box.
No, not necessarily.
Good luck. Yeah.
Well, not necessarily. Think about it. And communities are, are all dealing, because now what's happening is the renewals are occurring, right? So, on the renewal, Ferndale took theirs down, took their away. On its renewal, the city of Clawson took theirs away.
Oh wow!
Right, and so it can be done. There's no harm to this.
Okay,
Clawson is still not the capital of crime or anything like that. It's still the loveliest city that you could possibly go to in Oakland County, and there's no crime that's flourishing there, or in Ferndale or Ann Arbor, where these cameras have been taken down. But but it little does it help when you have the larger, our city of Troy still has the flat cameras, Oakland County still has flat cameras, obviously, and the drones. I think we need a more holistic approach when it comes to this. And I think this has been the failure of our legislators. They've gone out there and they've just been asleep at the wheel and seen well, let every community deal with it. Well, yes, but, we're negotiating for the city of Clawson to negotiate as a 2.2 square mile city with about 12,500 residents, right? And that economic power and that strength and that ability to deal with things, to go out there and to negotiate with a behemoth, $1 billion company. Well, the stakes are not quite where they should be, right? We don't have evenness when it comes to this. So there is a better way, and just our legislators are failing that better path, I think. And we can and must do better for our community.
So data centers, talking about the noise of the drones earlier, and one of the major complaints, the two major complaints I see on the data centers is, one is the noise.
Absolutely.
And then the second is water usage.
Absolutely, both.
And this Great Lakes state that we're in, we're not as protective of our water as we should be.
Correct.
I do believe. But I read different things that they don't actually use that much water.
Nonsense.
So they do use water,
Sure.
but it's not to the level of, it's melting the polar ice caps. But they are noisy. But I haven't been to one personally. And you said you hadn't been physically near
inside,
one.
yeah.
But I've seen videos. But
Sure.
I would actually like to be in the parking lot of one. It's how noisy is this? If I'm the neighbor living here within 100 yards of this, how noisy is it? Because there's a dog kennel down from me, and it's I'm a good half mile away from this dog kennel,
Sure.
and I hear them dogs at feeding time.
I hear
every day.
I hear
them dogs are there. So how noisy is it, and is that something that again, because how many? You said there's 50 some,
53 in the state of Michigan currently, with
currently.
several in the works. And
are they that noisy?
Apparently, and I haven't, much like you, haven't been inside or near one myself, but the way that, and I'll give you the story of where I heard it and my source of information. The Oakland University kids, college Democrats, were deeply involved in the treatment of one of these data centers that is proposed at one of the parking lots at Oakland University.
Okay.
Right. And they've approved the plans. At first it was, and if you're familiar with Oakland University, not that you would know, the numbers, but there's a parking lot 35, right? Nondescript parking lot, near the entrance of OU. And then parking lot 37 next door. It was first, proposed near parking lot 35, which was near a native burial site. And then there was a lot of consternation with respect to that. The students didn't want it for that reason, along with the humming sound and so on and so forth. And now it's proposed for number 37. All that to say that I invited the OU College Democrats to come to one of our, Troy Democratic Club meetings to come present their issues. And part of the presentation, they talked about the constant humming sounds that you would emanate, that is constant 24/7 from the operation of the data center that is proposed. And the way they described it is as a sound that would be audible if you were within the vicinity, and vicinity they described as several houses down from it, from the location. And it's the kind that, the way they described it is as a, sort of disorienting, distorting sound. Okay. And to me, personally, I don't have to, I don't have to necessarily believe precisely that to know that I wouldn't want that near one of our communities, right? 53 locations already. And I think there's, again, to speak as, or to reiterate what we said earlier, legislation needs to precede this kind of development, as opposed to let's develop first and then legislate around what we learn. That's nonsense. We need to be able to go out there and basically go to the bottom of our understanding with respect to the uses, the benefits, the detriments, and so on and so forth. Legislate. So develop the process, legislate around the process, make that the process to be followed, the best possible process you can have, and then continue with development, right? And of course, this use of water thing, it's interesting because I've read the same article I think that you have, which is like, yeah, they're using water, but it's not that much water. Let's relax Michigan. And you're right. We don't do as great a job as we need to do with respect to this amazing resource that we've been granted by nature, right?
Yeah.
You know, that we're surrounded by water and we take it for granted, I think, right? And I mean, do I want faster internet? I know I'm reducing it down to core imbecility here, but do I want faster internet? Absolutely. Do I care to have faster internet to the detriment of, I don't know, any little pond in Michigan? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous to think about it, right?
Yeah.
This is our natural resource, our number one natural resource. It would be absurd of us as adults to leave to the next generation something diminished because we needed to be able to Google something quicker. I mean, come on, it's ridiculous.
So there's a lot of work for the next round of legislators
Absolutely.
to do. So with luck, you'll be in that group working hard on this. So if people want to talk to you about this, do you have any events coming up where you're going to, sit and talk with people, or can they email you?
Absolutely.
Through their super slow dial-up internet?
the super slow internet that we're offering. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Like AOL.com.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Obviously, I'm available for anyone at any time. Email, call, text, whatever you need to. Events galore. If you go to my website, misena.com, we have all those listed, and we keep that updated all the time on every social media that I know and some that I'm not aware of. Or they and, so by all means, make yourself.
As soon as the smoke clears, we'll get back out there and you'll meet some people.
We canceled a few events, so absolutely, just stay safe in the meantime. That's all we can say.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Anything else? I think we covered those pretty good.
Jamie, thank you. Like I said, I'm so impressed with the legal knowledge today. I'm telling you, man.
A little knowledge is a dangerous thing.
Yes, it is. I love it. I love it.
I'm a very dangerous man.
Yes, all day. I'll agree to that.
All right. Well, thank you.